So we did industrialization and rise of the West.
So industrialism, which was starting with the rise of the West, sparked the industrialization of countries around the world and influenced global power. And it led to the rise of the West, affected China and Japan, sparked the Industrial Revolution, and had major effects on World War I.
So coal and colonies. So the coal provided power for all the different machines, and it was easily accessible to Europe, and that sparked the Industrial Revolution because it powered the machines that they had to use. And the colonies provided the resources for the Industrial Revolution, and then the West was able to dictate where the resources came from because they had control over the colonies.
The Columbian Exchange, it was an unequal exchange between Europe and the New World. The New World gave resources to Europe, but Europeans brought diseases to the Native Americans there, and that wiped out a lot of the Native American population. But that still allowed Europe to gain control of the resources coming from the New World, which helped them with the Industrial Revolution.
So the impact of the industrialization and the rise of the West. So the coal and colonies provided one resource for powering new machinery, and control over the colonies meant that Europe was able to manipulate where resources came from. And the Columbian Exchange provided resources used for industrialization and also gave Europe control over the New World.
So in China, they believed that in having small families, which led to a small population, and because they had a small population, there were more surpluses in the economy and food, and they could invest more in agricultural improvement and industrial productivity. And after the population started to grow, because there was a lot of agriculture, and so they had a lot of food, which had made them have a good economy. And from 1750 to 1850, rural China produced their own textiles, so women would make their own clothes at home, and that increased the area needed for cotton, and decreased the amount of rice exported, and because people were industrializing at home, so they needed more cotton. And so they had no machines, so they had no need for coal, so it put them a little farther behind Europe in the long run because they didn't have the resources for machines.
So Japan was the first non-Western country to successfully industrialize, and it exported silks to get imports for industry, and they developed cotton textile industry for exporting so they could get foreign exchange to purchase industrial raw material, and they produced the world's largest warship, and Japan was a sign that industrialization had moved to the east as opposing just staying in the west.
So for the Industrial Revolution, one of the main factors in it was the steam engine, which helped launch the revolution. It helped revolutionize the use of coal and allowed for the production of railroads, which made it so more resources could be transported throughout the world. And the steam engine helped build ships which revolutionized warfare. And factories that came up with industrialization made more jobs in cities, and it brought women and children into the workforce, but it also brought up the idea of socialism, where workers went on strike to improve working conditions.
So textiles started the industrialization, and India exported to England, but England's economy suffered, so they stopped the intake of products from India and produced and exported their own textiles. And the Industrial Revolution led to the rise in human population and economy because the wealth it brought and the resources that it provided.
So World War One. World War One was the first big war during the Industrial Revolution, and it took place during the Iron and Steel Age. And so railways and steamships that had already been developed allowed for a revolution of transport, and that made it possible for armies and weapons to be moved more efficiently. And new technology in chemicals and electricity allowed for the development of bombs and the telegraph, which kind of revolutionized the war. And all of the new advances changed warfare and gave Europe an advantage.
So, as a conclusion, so the colon colonies provided resources for the Industrial Revolution, and the Columbian Exchange allowed Europe to gain control of resources from the New World. And China industrialized at home and produced their own textiles, and Japan was the first non-Western civilization to successfully industrialize.
And also, the Industrial Revolution caused an increase in population, developing urbanization, and new scientific inventions. And it also allowed for the invention of new technologies and the utilization of iron and steel, revolutionizing warfare.
Subjected to that.